I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. I have stood still and stopped the sound of feet when far away an interrupted cry came over houses from another street, but not to call me back or say goodbye, and further still, at an unearthly height, one luminary clock against the sky proclaimed the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night. It's a poem by Robert Frost, Acquainted with the Night. Robert Frost, easily one of my most favorite American poets. Him and a guy by the name of T.S. Eliot. I was reading some T.S. Eliot the other night, and what a lot of this is doing in the show right now is bringing me back to who I used to be and how far I've come. I'm extremely grateful. Like G. Perico says, thank God for the pain. So the last time we left off, I imparted to you all what happened. I would call that another God shot. And this time it was a little more specific, right? It wasn't an ambiguous voice. It wasn't, something to be misconstrued. It was the great shepherd, the Messiah, the King of Kings, the Lord, Jesus Christ of Nazarene. Now, this hit me again with zero context in my life about, again, you're not looking at a guy who was, reading the Bible every day. I had a gilded Bible growing up. It stayed in my sock drawer my entire life. What you'll see in my description is Psalms 23. I mean, much of what I've experienced in my life up to now, through Christ, and we haven't even begun to scratch the surface on that, but He restores my soul is a line in Psalms 23. He restores my soul. And if one thing reigns true, He has heard my soul cry out, perhaps when I haven't had any voice. He's heard my soul cry out, perhaps when I was lifeless. He's heard my soul cry out when I didn't even know it had a voice, when I thought it had been snuffed out by sin and guilt and filth and dirt and shame. Son of Man came through and pointed his rod at the everlasting kingdom and said, one day this will all be yours. Don't worry. So through more heartache and grief and pain and struggle, I reached a point where the route to getting clean for me was simple, but there was the willingness and the desire. Now, when you throw in looking at my mom and my stepdad through the glass, downtown and county jail, begging them to bail me out, to get me out, and them saying, no, we simply will not. and having to walk back in with my tail tucked between my legs. That's a motivating factor. I wanted so badly to be out. But the crazy thing about us as people is we will begin to acclimate to our environment. I wouldn't say I began to feel comfortable in jail, but once the pain of withdrawal, kind of subsided after a few days, I picked up a book. I started reading. I started kicking stories back and forth, right? You start talking to people. Can I see myself doing that for an extended period of time? No, I would rather be right here, right now, doing this. But I understand. I understand. I'll never forget just the guys to my left, the guys to my right. They had been there before. They had looked through that glass at their significant other, at their girlfriend, and talked about bail money and talked about getting out and this and that. And it's like I didn't, and I was in tears and I was shocked, and I was still a kid. I was still 19 years old, 21 years old, sorry. And an adult, but a young one. Smoking a cigarette when I got out was like, I couldn't stand after a couple of hits, When you're chain smoking cigarettes and then you stop for a few days and then you come out and you smoke a cigarette, go to the Wendy's, get a bacon cheeseburger, pack of Newports. Those things hit different. Wanting to write and live to tell stories was a key factor in getting clean. Throughout my whole life, to this day, to right now, there has been a voice inside of me that has stood inside of me and said, you were meant for more. You were meant for more. You are meant for some kind of glory and some kind of greatness. I don't know. The older I get, I could do without greatness. To me back then, it was this materialistic view of what I thought fortune and fame was at the time. But there's been something inside of me that has always persevered, has always kept going, especially in the highest of stakes and when everything is against me. Folks call that the dog. Right? I always related to the underdog. I always related to the weakling who beats up the bully. The biblical tale of David and Goliath can teach a lot. David is a marvelous character in the Old Testament. Spent years running from Saul. Married his daughter. Slays Goliath. Plays the harp beautifully. He's the greatest king Israel's ever known. Thank God for David. Who's calling me, bro? That it was a felony possession. They drop it down to a misdemeanor. I either do I made like a slight plea and said I didn't want to do drug court and all this bullshit that I knew was a failure, a systematic failure that I had seen so many people just kind of bounce to and fro from. I wanted to give it a real shot at getting clean. So I think I was dealing with somebody down at the courthouse, and I said, I'll go back into rehab if I don't have to do drug court, and I'll get a letter saying I graduated rehab. And, I'm sitting there in the little office, and I had a gang of hair back in the day, and it's like a James Dean kind of hairstyle, JFK. My counselor said, "What are you doing, man? You look like John F. Kennedy. Like you could be anything. The fresh face, 21 years old." And I'm like, bro, I'm wild, dude. Somebody says that to me, I'll go to damn school and study poli-sci real quick, growing up fatherless is like there's no foundation, there's no reference point. Like I said, anybody cool, any cool guy wanted to be my father. Any rich guy wanted to be my father. Any quote unquote successful guy I wanted to be, my father. So I looked up to, you could imagine my idols were very, very, my idols were, they were tainted, but they were, I don't know. I romanticized a lot. I wanted to wear an old suit and type on a typewriter in a dingy hotel in New York City. And I wanted to eat at the diner, and I love James Dean. But they were so dapper, like, people like Greenwich Village. Salinger, Vonnegut, oh my God, Bradbury, Twain. Don't even get me started on David Foster Wallace. Don't get me started on Arthur Miller and Tennessee Williams. Don't get me started on T.S. Eliot. Nelson Algren, the man with the golden arm. Jeez, people. Whew. Don't even get me started on Kate Chopin. Bobby Frost. But I'm thinking specifically, forgive me for doing this live. Truman Capote, good Lord, there he is. The movie where Philip Seymour Hoffman plays Truman Capote, I love that, Capote. But him as a writer, and then while we're on the subject, the marvelous masterpiece called The Executioner Songs, huge book. Norman Mailer. I read that book out loud to my significant other every night before we went to bed. In a couple of years from where this story's taking place right now. The Executioner song. Wow. What a book. I think Tommy Lee Jones played him in the TV movie, if memory serves. Shouts to Tommy Lee Jones. Shouts to No Country for Old Men. You see where I'm going? This is why I'm like gonna give it I don't want to die. I don't want to die young. I don't want to die young. I think I'm gonna, and to this day, there is a divine purpose, not just for me, for you, for anybody seeking. I have happened to find my divine purpose and my light and my salvation in Jesus Christ. That is plain and simple. And the way that has unfolded in my life is beyond description, is beyond comprehension, is beyond words, but it is my truth. And I can't wait to discuss that. So I get a prescription for Suboxone, and I do the dance. Whew. They used to make these sublingual pills. The Suboxones were like a sublingual thing, and I always had one on deck. I could always make it through. The torture of a junkie is that of trying to get clean, because willpower is never enough, and days go by, and I've got my trusty Suboxone, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because the emptiness and the void that one experiences in their life while doing drugs is insurmountable. So why would I try? So I got like a girlfriend, and like we're both trying to get clean, and I got the Suboxone, and we got the Suboxone, and like I'm just doing this thing of just staying, like just... Dude, it starts with like 16 milligrams under the tongue. Boom. That's a knock, 16 milligrams. Then we shoot it down to 12. Then we shoot it down to 10. Then we get it down to 8. And I'm back in meetings, and I'm back doing AA. And I'm back on the good foot, back on the good foot. And I finish community college, and I get accepted to UC Riverside, easy transfer. I chose UC Riverside because they had a good writing program. It's mainly a research school, their humanities was actually great. And then, but, it ain't no sports school. It doesn't really matter. I'm committed. What am I, 23? And it's so hard to go to college at 23 as a creative person. Like, people don't understand the world that I just came from. They'll see it in my writing. They definitely see it in my writing, in who I was. But I have a slight edge. I'm a little bit older. I'm not 18, 19. And I'm a little, in a weird way, the writing was mature. I am not mature, though I would tell you I was. My pseudo-intellectualism gave me a lot of vocabulary, but I couldn't swing a hammer at that stage in the game for a living, right? Which I can respect. Just delivering a service through hands, delivering a service through bare hands. A trade. If I fail in all else, I will pick up a trade, and I will be a tradesman, and I can accept that. But if I never did this and I never started the hearts of men, I could never live with that. If you've got something in your heart, a burning desire that you cannot live without, but you don't know how to start, do it. If you don't have the money or the resources or the funds, do it. I know that didn't make any sense. Just do it. You want to start that thing? Do it. You want to approach that person? Do it. We are not guaranteed the days on the earth, and we do not know when our time will come. Your good looks will be robbed by death. Your relationships will be stolen by death. Your fame and your fortune will not go with you. Your relationship with God is everything. My relationship with God through his Son, Jesus Christ, is everything to me. I cannot move forward. I cannot move backwards. I cannot move left to right without that being firmly established. And these are words that I never, ever, ever thought I would say in a million years. But I'm saying them. And I'm saying them with conviction and strength because of the miracles performed in my life. Now, you don't need to have a story like mine, which is relative. This is all on a spectrum. This all exists in a scale. I mean, everybody I know, I could argue, has gone down farther than me, has gone into hell deeper than I. But when you're standing in the flames, who cares? I'm in school. I got an apartment. I got a 1-bedroom apartment for $860 a month. I took out $20,000 worth of student loans. This is 2015. I took out $20,000 of student loans to write poetry. To write poetry. I don't care. Who cares? We will all die, and it will not matter. Now they're going to come back. I'm going to have to pay on them. But I've learned finance, as we'll come to find out, incredibly. And, young men, if you do not have any credit or your credit sucks, there's little steps we can take to get your credit up. Okay, there's little starter cards, there's little this, there's little that. Having credit is everything, especially in an environment, in an economy like right now where inflation is rampant. Yeah, I know the rates are high. But you got to think long term. If we can get a certain president back in office, we can begin to mitigate this debt. You know what I'm saying? So, my time at Riverside, I only had to do 2 years. Like I said, I transferred. My favorite part about going to college at UC Riverside was my art history professor and some of my other writing professors. But art history was intriguing, especially through the American canon and scope. The industrial art, the art of the Industrial Revolution, or the art of the late 1800s into the early 1900s, the American art. Obviously, if you're studying American history, you have to take a long look at the slavery that went on and the art associated with that. And then if you continue on, you have to look at the Revolutionary War, you have to look at the First World War, you have to look at the Second World War, and you have to look at the wars that were fought by this country. And looking at these wars through an art history perspective, it's awesome. It's crazy. It's just some of the art to come out of this is sensational. I was invited in my senior year to do a very small, intimate art history course on war and art, and I did my final project on the psychological it was a combination of psychology and The Deer Hunter. If you're young and you have not seen The Deer Hunter, go see The Deer Hunter. Go rent it on YouTube after you watch this video. So what happens is when I move into my little apartment in Riverside, okay, and I get my little typewriter, okay, and I have my little laptop, a couple of things start to shift in me. I get an old 35 millimeter camera. Whew. This changed my entire life, actually. I began to shoot film. Instagram is like, it is what it is. It's nowhere near what it is now. In fact, I was off Instagram for years, and I've come back to launch all of this. So my Instagram is completely revamped. You'll never be able to see my film work. It's other places. I could bring it back, of course. But, man, all I cared about was making words, making images, and pictures. So I would go to the Walmart and I would go into the $5 movie bin. It was a Kmart, sorry. I picked up movies like Mean Streets. My favorite movie of all time, and still to this day, is a little movie called Taxi Driver, directed by Scorsese, starring Bobby De Niro, written by my man Paul Schrader. Taxi Driver used to mess me up, dude. It was so beautiful. And then there was a guy that I actually came to find out and discover. His name is Vincent Gallo, and this dude quickly became. This is, if you know who I'm talking about, you'll see how psycho I was, and I'm not calling him a psycho at all, but you'll just see. Shout out to the artist plight. I'll always have a soft spot for the creative, but you need to be original, okay? If you're gonna be creative. V. Gallo was the most original dude I had ever seen, and he made a movie called Buffalo 66, which is I'll probably put in my top 5, maybe right behind Taxi Driver. But I grew my hair out. I had long curly hair. I grew my hair out. I wore red leather boots like he did, patent leather boots, cut off shirts, and pants, slack pants. His style was sick in Buffalo 66. I loved it. But I'm he was a skinny, scrawny guy. I'm kind of stocky and built. So I couldn't quite pull it off, but that's what I was going for. And I'm studying Tarantino. I'm studying films like Reservoir Dogs. I'm going to lectures in a black suit, black tie with a white shirt and these red boots, yo. And people, if I saw myself now, I'd be like, all right, brother, do your thing. But it is what it is, right? Expression is everywhere. It's in what we wear, right? I mean, I golf in this shirt. I get a lot of comments. But expression is everything. And now I'm not getting high, so it's things are coming up to the surface. I'm only doing like one of three things. I'm either cruising around Riverside, shooting film pictures. I'm at home reading, doing my homework, doing my studies. I'm playing guitar, picked up guitar, or I am painting pictures, acrylic on canvas. And the way I sort of healed myself was listening to music, learning music, painting. Painting was cathartic. Writing, but writing starts to become academic. School or doing something you love for a living almost school academia will crush your passion fast. Like when you have to write creatively and it's due on Wednesday, it's stupid. It's so dumb. Like it takes all of the zest that I have to sit there and create something, because now I'm a procrastinator, you know what I mean? Like, this, that, it's so futile, dude. I'm going to go into this diatribe really quick, but like you're critiquing me on something that I really don't need critiquing on. And I understand the power of writing is sitting in a circle and reading somebody else's writing and giving your 2 cents on it. For me, it stops when I stop writing. When I hand it off and you read it, congratulations, But for me, it was like, keep it to yourself. Like, some things were insightful, or maybe some things, I don't know. I loved what I did. I'm a first draft guy, dude. I couldn't even come at you. I know, dude, they say writing is revision. Bro, your boy was raw. And that's why I love poetry. And so that's kind of how I ventured into film too, was like, you can critique the story that I'm telling through film, dude, but you'll never understand. You'll never master my imagery. I was a cinematographer, bona fide director, cinematographer, making sick images. Like, I'll do poetry and music and lyrics, but I need like a collaboration to I'll do a 6 short story. Novels were just like, phew. I don't know if I have a novel in me, but it's got to be an autobiography. But this is a verbal one, you know what I mean? So we'll leave it at that, but I meet a professor, and I meet a very, very, very important professor who's got Hollywood connections. So when I graduate, I go straight to, actually before I graduate, I started working on a street called Abbot Kinney in Venice Beach. Who knows what that street looks like? It's probably riddled with homeless people nowadays. But back then, worked right on the heart of the street. Shout out my professor who got me that plug. She knows who she is if she's listening to this. So I feel like I made it, I'm in LA. Ooh. I got a little spot in the valley in Van Nuys, in a specific suburb called Lake Balboa. So I'm doing, man, the photography is expanding. I'm meeting up and coming rappers. I'm shooting their little album covers. My roommate is like what is he? He's like a little engineer at a studio, telling me some man. So this is the first time I learned about treatments for songs and like how these songs are made and like songs like being just recorded by recording artists for whoever, some major artist. And so he's like hit me with all these little jump offs before they become famous, and I'm like, that's cool. This guy, man, bro. This guy drove like a maniac, dude. He had like a Dodge Challenger. And I took one ride with this guy. I'll never ride with him ever again in my life. And I remember I was chilling at the crib one day, and he pulls up. I think somebody dropped him off, and he was like limping up the driveway. And I'm like, bro, what's up? Are you good? He's like, nah, dude, I just rolled my car. And I was like, no. I was 0% surprised, bro. You've never seen a more maniac driver. It was a ticking time bomb. Praise be to God that this man did not take out a family every time he stepped on the gas pedal. Absolutely insane. Totaled the Dodge Challenger. I don't know, man. That guy was like, I hope he's doing well, man. Shout out, bro, if you see this. So overall, there's like, yeah, I did some cool things in LA. I worked on a lot of commercials. I worked on some music videos. I met some interesting people. I was able to I was able to really see that life. And I was proud in a way because my just who I was by sheer dint of my writing and where I went to school. I was able to get a little I was able to get a little job out in LA and kind of, be on that and but I'm still clean, dude. I'm still like not partying and like, that's going on. That's going on out there big time. My favorite thing that I ever did out there, I was like set photographer on a Bacardi commercial shoot. So you had like all the models in bikinis. We were on the little Vanishing Edge pool overlooking on Mulholland, right? Throw out all the, just throw out all the classic LA stuff. So on Mulholland Drive, it's a mansion. It's overlooking the valley. Bacardi, fun in the pool. Dope shoot. Shorties are coming up to me, asking me what I do. And like, man, at this stage, I was like definitely a different guy. I was definitely a lot more reserved and a lot more, just more of a precarious writer type. And, like, dude, I had gotten in trouble with women forever. And I just didn't want more of the same thing. It's so weird. My life has always been like, right place, wrong time, right place. I'm right, they're wrong. They're wrong, I'm right in my life. You know what I mean? Just the pieces never add up. The pieces never add up, and I consistently have always felt like an outsider and a misfit. And being in LA and driving 17 miles from Van Nuys to Venice back in the day was whack. That shit took me like 2.5 hours to get anywhere, yo. Prior to the scamdemic, traffic in LA was insane. I drove a Volkswagen Golf manual. Doing dumb shit, driving around getting dumb shit, Ain't nobody really caring out there. Never seen a more of a collection of nobodies thinking that they were somebodies. Man, I fear no man but God, you know? And but going through a lot of the things that I went through, you know, sometimes I was it, sometimes I was the guy, and then sometimes I was just a peasant, you know? Sometimes I had to just do things, sometimes I had to, you know, there was a lot of lessons in humility back then. And I didn't have anything figured out. Things were constantly moving and taking different shapes every single day. And it's like I was just scrambling out there, really, you know, and I realized, like, man, I ain't fucking, bro, it doesn't matter how sick I am, how good I am. I could be the dopest with a camera or with a pen or with anything. And I'm just not, I didn't grow up out there. I don't have lifelong connections out there. And I didn't want to, I came from like a bum on the street, you know, shooting dope in my arms. Like, I wasn't about to do that without like, I just wasn't going to do that in LA, man. You know what I'm saying? And shout out, man. I played my role out there and I met some good people. And, you know, it doesn't exist. I saw LA for what it was, you know, and outside of the glitz and the glamour and the Hollywood and all this and that. And it's just like it's just a crowded city. It's just a mad crowded city with like weird politics going on and a lot of poverty, to be honest with you. And, to be honest, I was in a relationship with a girl I was in love with at the time, and we moved back down to San Diego, and I just wanted to surf and be with her and live with her, and you know, just sort of play music and play my guitar, and get going in life. So I bounced out. Had to get out of there. And that was, you know, the one thing I could say was like, what do you do when you kind of get the thing that you wanted, right? But what you wanted really didn't amount to anything. And you put a lot of work and a lot of time into something, and then you maybe experienced at a high level and you realize like this high level is bullshit, and like, where's the talent? Where is the talent? What do we, it's like, it's all a grind. It's all a grind and a job at the end of the day, you know? And I would like, let me grind for me, you know? Let me do for me. I can do for myself. I'm a capable individual. And in much the way I feel right here, right now, and in doing anything is like, man, my Father has blessed my entire life and touched me. Why? He is my ultimate source and my supply. Meeting my needs at every point in time and space, man, endless abundance. Why am I here doing somebody else's dirt, doing somebody else's work? And that goes for any job. Man, the system is masterfully created. The matrix is masterfully created until you can snap out of it, until you realize, like, man, like, praise God for me, my stomach just hurts when I look at working for somebody else, you know. I will do work for somebody else, with somebody else, don't get it twisted, somebody that I know and appreciate and love, but like this idea, bro, your boy went into a cubicle job after this. At Union Bank, over by La Jolla and it wasn't no Union Bank like a bank. It was an office. And it was in the mortgage department, doing like in the funding department. And I didn't even know what that shit was for a long time, man. But you know what they say? You got to pay the bills, right? You got to pay the bills. And so me and my shorty at the time, we're just working. We got a really cool apartment in downtown La Mesa where I grew up at. And the prodigal son had returned. And I had stories to tell, you know. I had celebrity stories to tell. And I had this and that to tell. And, you know, I was like, man, I don't need to be anywhere to write, you know. A real one. I don't need to be anywhere to do anything. Like, I'm going to do this. And then it's just like, I exist in this world now, and I went to school and my mind expanded. I want to make something very, very clear for my young listeners out there, right? Because this has never been more evident than it is now. In academia, in school, I would never go back to college. If I could do it all again, I might damn homeschool myself. I think my children, for sure, I will homeschool. I mean, like, it's dangerous to go to school in this day and age. It's absolutely dangerous. You might get shot, or you might get an insane political agenda pushed upon you, thrust upon you in public school, which has no business being around there. The damage that we're doing to children right now is insanity. I mean, this generation is already a very isolated, lonely generation. I can't imagine being 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and my classmates exist online more than they do in the classroom, and everything exists online. And me, I mean, I think I made it very well clear. I'm an old soul. I didn't gravitate towards I didn't gravitate towards that. I didn't gravitate towards MySpace. I didn't gravitate towards Facebook. I didn't gravitate towards Instagram. It has taken a monumental internal shift to even be able to set these parameters up, to even put this show out for me. I'm out of sight, out of mind. I'm in reality, But business acumen gets you into different places and makes you, you can find heart and soul anywhere in different things. And hopefully that's what I'm displaying right now. But damn, I lost that train of thought big time. Oh, yeah, so I'm back. Oh, man, I got this desk job, and I'm, like, literally existing to surf waves. Oh, so here's the whole point I was going to make. You can go to school, you can go to academics and learn all this stuff. Like my family did not give a shit about how many books that I read and what I became. And I never got no pat on the back for nothing, and like I would come home and do visits during school, and it was like, it was hard, man. It was just really hard, and to some extent, it still exists. There's like there's a rift that exists between myself and the generation of my parents that I don't think I can overcome. Nor do I think it will overcome, but we're doing the best that we can with everything that we've got. And it's on me to not be emotionally triggered by anything and to exist with them. No matter what their political beliefs are, no matter what they do for a living, no matter their outlook on life. And growth comes with age, and maturity comes with experience, right? Back then I didn't have skills. I just wanted to push my brain on you, right? And who cares? Like, ultimately, good for them for not giving a shit about my thoughts and my ideas and my artistic endeavors and this and that, and I wanted so bad to get an approval. I wanted so bad for there to be support, but like, support yourself, man. I have the ultimate supporter. Who loves me and supports me more than any human power that ever existed? Jesus Christ. Like, humans will inevitably fail. Your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your nephew, this will all fail you. This is a human, you're talking about a human creature with emotion and ration and irration and this and that and memories. And it's like, don't look to that stuff for the support, And if it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not an old man. I'm doing exactly what I want to do right here, right now. I love my life. I'm so blessed and fortunate to be alive. My God, take it back to the simples, right? You have life. You're unstoppable. You have arms. You have fingers. You've got the best deal in town. You have breath in your lungs. You have the best deal in town. Nothing can stop you. Only your perception of what's going on around you could ever stop you. It is tremendously important to develop a sense of faith. And I'm not trying to push Jesus on you. I'm giving you my outlet. I'm giving you my strength. I'm giving you my testimony, my life, my love, who I am. But you could find that the way that I found. I found that in surfing first. I found that in writing first. I found that in literature first. I found that in chanting and in ohms and yoga and sweating and gym and in drugs, and you want to go back. I found all that stuff. I worshiped all of that stuff before I worshiped the one true King. And it'll work until it doesn't work anymore, right? Be cognizant of when it doesn't work for you anymore and you need to expand and you need to grow, right? It's growth comes in the worst form, in the worst shape, man. It comes in so much pain. And I'm a guy who feels deeply. I experience a lot of pain before I turn the page and decide to grow. I have a high pain threshold and a high amount of patience as well. I can do time. You're doing time in your life, whether you're incarcerated or not. You're doing time in this life, whether you're incarcerated or not. How are you going to spend it? Man. Back then, getting out of all that, being in this relationship, living where I was, unfulfilled, untapped, unrealized. I never stood a chance. I never stood a chance. That old self-destruct button comes back. And it came back on me. We'll end here in a second, but I want to get to this point here. This is another segue. So, up until this, I'm still I'm at the Union Bank. I met girl in sobriety. She's so beautiful, light skin, blue eyes, curly hair. Everything was geared up towards us, making that move and tying that knot and having that family. But I'm still a bit of a renegade, And when I'm unfulfilled and unsatisfied, I get bored. There is I don't get bored. I'm not a bored person. I'm always chewing on something. But the death of man is a office with artificial light. Oh my God. The death of man is an office with an artificial light. Leave that to women. I'm not saying anything, but just the office space is more of a female gig. You know what I mean? It's like I'm sitting all day. I don't like the way it makes my body feel. I'm eating shit food. I'm snacking because I'm all so bored. I'm doing this work. I'm not even doing the work, yo. I got that job. I was eating edibles on the job, gummies. Started macking gummies on the job, yo. I started eating these Green Hornet gummies on the job. From my boy Scott, who worked there, who started walking with the Lord. I seen that on Instagram a little while ago. Shout outs to Scott, man. Man, he would hit me with these gummies, bro. I swear. Whew. I never had the worst panic attack in my life than off of gummies, man. Me and my girl at the time, we were We were in line at the movies. We used to watch, and she loved film, and she took on to movies as well. Such a simple, beautiful girl, so wonderful and so lovely, and so amazing. Her dad, rest in peace. We both lost our fathers around the same time. We'll get to that, but her father, rest in peace, man. He worked for Boeing. He just had patents and patents all above his office, man. He's genius. He's like a doper version of Neil deGrasse Tyson, man. Huge white afro, big guy, intimidating guy physically, genius. And her mom was Canadian, and another beautiful, gorgeous woman, beautiful soul. Whew. And they created this beautiful girl, and we met in Riverside, where she's from. And she had gone to Berkeley. And she had graduated from Berkeley, and she ended up in anthropology and cultural anthropology, and she ended up taking her thesis to reality, and she just became a street kid and traveled around with street kids all around the country. And so she had all these wild stories, and she had experienced all these wild things, and that's her story. I won't tell it, but she's a beautiful soul, and I'm sending love out to her, and I'm sending love her way, and she forever changed my life. And I hope I could say the same thing in a positive way, but sometimes things aren't always that way. But anyways, we're at the movies one time, and I'm deep off of this edible. I'm probably gonna go see some bullshit Marvel movie. And the weirdest thing happened. Like, this guy, dude, and this is like been, I've always been in predicaments where people are just, man, this ain't, bro. This is prior to, prior to the jab, prior to the hoax, prior to the young vaccinations, but this kid is standing in line. He just goes out, boom, hits the deck, and I'm off of this edible, and I look at my girl. He's with a couple of friends, and dude, he goes lifeless for a couple of seconds, gets back up. What is going on? Yo, did you just see that? I'm like, oh my God, dude. So we move up in line a little bit more. He goes out again, hits the deck, boom, out of nowhere. Bro, what is it? And why have I seen this? And this is prevalent now too, is why do people just, it is so scary because you are living and breathing in one moment, and the next moment you're gone. You're gone. Glory be to God, he got back up, and his friends escorted him out, and they went back to the parking lot. I don't know what extracurriculars this man was on, if he was on anything. He was like a young Asian kid, he was on that math homework, really. That's what it looked like. But I hope he's doing well. I'm trying to connect a couple of things right now, but I don't want to go into the heartache of where my life is about to go again. We're going to do it in the next episode. But I just wanted to describe that beautiful young lady that I was with, that we were living together, and we were carving out our lives. And that road trip that we took up the coast from San Diego to Berkeley, California, to see the Lumineers, which is still one of the most beautiful concerts I've ever seen. Shouts to the Lumineers. And camping out in Monterey and camping out in Santa Cruz and living that young life together. And her putting up with me, stopping all the time, wanting to develop film and make pictures. And she really was my muse, so beautiful. I made so many beautiful pictures with her as my star model. She was and still is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen at that time in this life. But the pain will turn you up. The pain will turn you up and make you do wild things. And so weed comes back in, and drinking comes back in, you know? And I take a poor girl who's just riding with me by my side, you know, and I'm bringing her back through old habits and old behaviors. And I'm hiding it, and she's not even really knowing for a little while. And I'm just kind of mixing with buddies here and there, you know, and I'll go out surfing, you know. And, you know, I'll hit a little dro. And coming out of the ocean, your eyes are red anyway. There's no real, it doesn't really matter, you know, and you're all beat tired anyway if you're putting that work in. So I essentially kind of just take us out of sobriety together. Because, like, man, the life was sad, dude. Like, the dead-end jobs, the office jobs. I don't want to live to just get some money and get high. I don't want to live to just get some money and get high. Whether it's a drug or weed or you know, and like, the 12 steps is stale, man. The 12-step stuff is stale, bro. That self-help is stale. Those rooms are stale. To this day, I'll hold it down. Those rooms are stale, bro. There is no power like the power that comes from God's word and comes from the scripture, man. There is no power beyond that. The law of gravity, man. What goes up must come down. And if I'm drinking and I'm smoking, I'm not living a good life. I'm not living a higher life, man. You know? It took me so long to stop playing this world, man. It took me so long to stop giving into this world. And there are casualties that come with that, man. There are casualties that come with playing in this world and being part of this world. And if you're in the faith, you understand what I'm talking about. And if you're not, what I mean by that is when you are not led by the heart and by the Spirit and by the Lord, you succumb to vanity and ego and pride and materialism and money and this and that and all of these things that evaporate, that are not eternal. And the older one gets, the heavier the consequences become, the deeper the pain becomes. You know, I thought hell, I used to think hell was being stuck in the vicious cycle of trying to get clean and never quite getting there. Thanks be to God, man. I got away from that, you know. If you're watching this, it's been the better part of 12 years since I've, you know, had a needle in my arm or anything crazy like that. But pain comes in a variety of forms. And in this next episode, we're going to walk through the biggest shift down, the biggest casualties, and the worst mental state that I've ever traversed through. From mine to yours, this is the Hearts of Men. I'll see you in the next one.